Good afternoon. This webinar offers closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen and choose your preferred method. Welcome to the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection webinar. Please note any website or email that I mentioned will be posted in the chat. For those seeking business license assistance, you can visit the Small Business Center here at City Hall or call 312-74-GO-BIZ. Also, business license can be applied for or renewed online at chicagobusinessdirect.org. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. This webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/ChicagoBACP. If you'd like to encourage all attendees to ask questions, please use the chat box to send your questions. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to Jamie for us to begin.
Thank you, Stella. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Mary Lori Lightfoot, Commissioner Jamie Reed, and the entire team at the Chicago Department of Aviation, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to our Concessions 101 workshop webinar. As Stella stated, I am Jamie Vermontes. I'm a project administrator for the concessions team here with the Chicago Department of Aviation. I'm excited to be here with you all today. As we look ahead into 2023, there are many exciting things happening in our airports that my team will touch on today. We are eager to provide the passenger with a world-class concessions program at both O'Hare and Midway airports by providing the ultimate experience for both domestic and international travelers. We at CDA always strive to be innovators in the airport ecosystem as we go all out to bring the very best in concession offerings to our world-class airport. From our restaurants and our shops right up to the gates, our airport creates the first and lasting impressions of our great city. We remain dedicated on bringing opportunities to our Chicago residents. We are committed to promoting equity and inclusion with our concession contracts by focusing on diversity. And we are working diligently to bring new ideas and new owners and operators into the fold. I want to let the team shine a little bit, so I'm going to leave it there. You'll be hearing from our concessions team, starting with the concessions project administrators, Mark Wright, Michael Stein, Daniel Perez, and myself, Jamie Vermontes. We also have with us today, Yolanda Woodruff, Director of Retail and Operations for Unison. We put together an amazing presentation for you, which will include the following topics: O'Hare's operation and concession program, the ORD 21 expansion, Midway's operation and concession programs, the process to operate concessions, and the elements of a concession. At the end, we will have time for Q&A, so please don't hesitate to ask questions. Thank you again for your interest in operating at O'Hare and Midway International Airports. And with that, I will pass it out to Daniel Perez, who will kick us off with the O'Hare operations. Take it away, Daniel.
Thank you, Jamie. My name is Daniel Perez, Projects Administrator with the CDA, and I will give you a look at our operations at O'Hare. O'Hare is served by nearly 50 of the world's leading airlines and is a major inter-alliance connecting gateway. These airlines include United Airlines with their Star Alliance partners, American Airlines with One World partners, and Delta Airlines, along with the rest of the Sky Team. O'Hare also has multiple non-aligned airlines, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. They include Aer Lingus, JetBlue, Spirit, and Frontier. Here we have a snapshot of passengers and operations at O'Hare. In 2021, there were over 54 million passengers that traveled to O'Hare. Last year, we ended the month of November with nearly 63 million in passenger volume. Passenger enplanements were up 25% from 2020 back in 2021 and down 36% from 2019. There's also 190 active gates at O'Hare. And also an interesting trend worth noting, over 50% of passengers in O'Hare have connecting flights and never leave the terminals, which is a pretty great captive audience, if I would say so myself. Now to take a look at each of the terminals, starting with Terminal 1. Terminal 1 has two concourses, B and C. They are connected by a very colorful and neon lit underground pedestrian tunnel. In 2021, there were 8.3 million enplanements. Major carriers in Terminal 1 are Star Alliance partners, United Airlines, Lufthansa, and ANA. Terminal 2, we have two concourses, E and F. In 2021, there were 5.1 million enplanements. Major carriers are Air Canada, Alaska Airlines, JetBlue, and United Express. Terminal 3 has 4 concourses, which are G, H, K, and L. In 2021, Terminal 3 had 11 million enplanements. Some of their major carriers include American Airlines, American Eagle, Cape Air, Denver Air Connection, Iberia Airlines, Japan Airlines, and Spirit Airlines. Terminal 5 is home to the Concourse M and a number of international and domestic carriers. 10 renovated gates opened in the western wing of Terminal 5 last year in October as the new home for Delta Airlines. Delta shifted their operations from their longtime home in Terminal 2. Other carriers in Terminal 5 include Aer Lingus, Aeromexico, Air France, Air India, Emirates, Korean Air, and Southwest, just to name a few. We recently had a celebration for the grand opening of the new east extension of Terminal 5, which added 10 new wide body gates. And you'll hear about later in the presentation, we have some new and exciting concession spaces on the horizon for Terminal 5. And now I'll touch on the O'Hare Concessions program. Here we have our airport concessions at O'Hare broken up into the following categories. We have food and beverage, which includes branded and unbranded goods, airport local and national brands, also sit down and full service concessions, also fast and quick serve, and also grab and go, and bars and snacks. Also, as a category, we have specialty retail, which includes electronics, travel accessories, apparel, and jewelry and books. Next category, we have news and gift, which includes our souvenirs and convenience items. Also duty-free, along with advertising, both indoor and outdoor. And lastly, we have services, which include spa, lounges, banking, ATM, luggage carts, and automated lending. Next is a slide of a concessions performance breakdown by category for all terminals in O'Hare. It lists sales figures for 2019, 2020, 2021. Also listed is the total amount of stores, the total amount of square footage for each category. We have an increase in 2021 in travel, which, as you can see, positively impacted on total sales and terminal sales. In this slide, we have a look at some of the Terminal 1 concessions. There's a mix of retail and food and beverage, which includes Johnston & Murphy, Eli's Cheesecake, Corpus Frontera by Rick Bayless, Billy Goat Tavern, and McDonald's, just to name a few. Some highlights worth noting for Terminal 1, we opened up a brand new Dunkin' Express last month in Concourse B by Gate B12. Also in Concourse B last year, we opened up Hudson Nonstop with Amazon technology. This new tech allows the customer to simply just swipe their credit card to enter. And then when they walk out with their purchase, their card is automatically charged. In Terminal 2, Concessions highlights include Stanley's Blackhawks, Kitchen and Tab, also Wicker Park Sushi, Summer House, Nuts on Clark, Mac Cosmetics, and Coach Store. For Terminal 3, the home of the Hall with Flags, we have Hubs Bar and Grill, Publican Tavern, Goose Island, Burrito Beach, Burger Federation, O'Brien's, Gold Coast Dogs, Macaroni Grill, Barbara's Bookstore, and Brookstone, and the list, as you can see, it goes on. And here we have a look at some of the existing concessions in Terminal 5, which includes Garrett Popcorn Shops, Goddess and the Grocer, RJ Brunts, Urban Olive, and Wellbow. And with that, I will pass it over to Jamie Ramontes, who will touch on Order 21.
Thank you, Daniel. Again, my name is Jamie Viramontes. I am a project administrator here with CDA and Concessions, and I'll be going over a little bit of the O'Hare 21 program. So the O'Hare 21 is the biggest expansion effort in O'Hare's 60-year history. O'Hare is constantly evolving for building space for more gates, providing better amenities and travel options in order to streamline and enhance the passenger experience from curb to gate. This will help expand travel options by increasing gate capacity from 195 to 220 and increasing airline competition. This will be reducing security wait times with new security screening checkpoints that integrate the latest screening technology. It would also be improving the screening and sorting of passenger baggage by replacing baggage handling systems. We're also reducing airfield congestion and ground delays by improving aircraft parking positions and compatibilities. So O'Hare 21 encompasses several significant and concurrent developments, which include the completion of the OMP with the opening of a runway 9R27L extension in December of 2021, over $1 billion in T5 overhaul expansion, the terminal area plan, or which is known as TAP, which includes the O'Hare Global Terminal, the O'Hare Global Concourse, and 2 satellite concourses, 1 and 2. Also the L Stinger, which includes concourse and gate improvements, and other various capital improvement projects such as taxiway and runway rehabilitations and utility upgrades. So let's look at the deliverables that TAP will give us, just kind of a map, just so you guys can see. On our far hand left, we have the Satellite 2 and our Satellite 1. In the middle, we will have our global terminal and concourse. The L Stinger, which is the Concourse L expansion. And just recently that was completed is the Terminal 5 expansion, all the way on the right-hand side. So these are the terminal area plan phases. As I just stated, the Terminal 5 expansion, which is already open, that created 10 new gates and 12,000 square feet for concession space. Satellite 2, which will also be providing more gates and new gates, which will also include 30,000 square feet for concession space. We're looking at that open in 2026. Satellite 1, which will also add new gates and 30,000 square feet for concession, which is targeted for opening of 2027. And O'Hare Global Terminal, which we're looking at about 75,000 square feet for concession space. And we're targeted for completion date of 2032. So there's a lot going on. So we're going to start with the multimodal facility. That's what you're seeing right here on the screen. Currently, the multimodal facility, or MMF, opened in November of 2018. It houses our airport rental car operations and also has 2,600 economy parking spaces. At the MMF, you can also catch the ATS train to get to all terminals. And that in the picture right there, you see the train on top. That is our ATS trains that can get you to all terminals 1, 2, 3, 5, and back to the MMF. Here, what you're looking at is the Terminal 5 expansion, which broke ground in March of 2019. This is the $1.2 billion investment, which brought 350,000 square feet to Terminal 5. It gave us 25 more gate capacity. It also renovated, as we mentioned before, 750,000 square feet for the home of the Delta Airlines. We added 70% more lounge space and 75% more concession space. Most recently, construction started on the T5 6-story parking garage. So these are some of the Terminal 5 concessions that are currently in development. We'll see some renderings and pictures in later slides, but just to name a few, we got Bar Sienna, Chick-fil-A, the Hampton Social, Boulevard and Branch, Butcher and the Burger, Farm to Air Market, In Motion, Metropolis Coffee, Protein Bar and Kitchen, 6 Points Market, and Sparrow Coffee. There behind, you can also see Evolve by Hudson, which actually just opened up in December. So again, here are just a couple renderings of some of our future developments in Terminal 5. We have Chick-fil-A, that would be at gate M10. 6 Points Market, which would be in the new East Extension, which is at gate M30. Metropolis Coffee, also serving coffee and desserts, pastries. Also the new East Extension, we're looking at gate M30 as well. Hampton Social Bar Restaurant, we're going to be opening up in gate M7. Farm to Air's Market, which is currently open, you can find that at gate M7. And Sparrow Coffee, serving coffee and other pastries and food items, which you can find also gate M6. And finally, we have Bar Sienna, which is looking to open at gate M35. Boulevard Branch in Motion, gate M29. And then we have Butcher and the Burger, which will be developing near gate M26. And then here's just a rendering of the O'Hare Global Terminal. Again, this will be adding about 75,000 square feet of concession space and new gates. That's it for me. I will pass it over to Mark Wright to talk a little bit about the operations at Midway.
Jamie, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As Jamie stated, my name is Mark Wright. I'm one of the projects administrators here for Concessions, and we can jump right into operations at Midway. Next slide. Midway International Airport is a leading airport for point-to-point air service in the U.S. As of November of 2022, Midway has approximately 224 daily direct flights scheduled to 75 U.S. destinations and 10 daily direct flights to 11 international destinations. The top destinations from Chicago include Denver, Phoenix, Atlanta, and Las Vegas. And Southwest Airlines represents 90% of the capacity here at Midway. Next slide. In 2021, approximately 16 million passengers traveled through Midway. Passenger enplanements were up 79% from 2020, but down 24% from 2019. Traveling did increase in 2022, and data shows that we're making our way back to 2019 level. 50% of Midway passengers have connecting flights and never leave the airport. And there are 43 active gates here at Midway. Next slide. In terms of airlines, there are 7 commercial airlines at Midway. The biggest name includes Southwest Airlines, which I stated before is 90% of capacity here at Midway. Other big names include Delta, Frontier, and Volaris. Next slide. The Midway modernization program is a $333 million program and the first terminal investment in nearly 2 decades here at Midway. The passenger security checkpoint expansion project was completed in 2020. It took the bridge over Cicero Avenue from approximately 50 feet to 400 feet, which increased the queuing area to 80,000 square feet. The terminal parking garage enhancement project modernized elevators, added electrical vehicle charging stations, and made some improvements to the exit plaza coming out the garage. The Concessions redevelopment program, which is still in development, was designed to offer passengers new and improved choices for shopping and dining, services, and amenities. Next slide. Next, I will briefly talk a little bit about the concessions program here at Midway. The Midway Concessions redevelopment program features iconic Chicago establishments and brands, as well as nationally recognized products and services. Midway Partnership was selected as the developer operator for the program, and they're investing $75 million to renovate and expand the food and beverage offerings, news and gifts, specialty retail, personal services, and other public amenities located here at the airport. The redevelopment will include an increase from 44,000 to over 70,000 square feet, and the number of concessions will approximately increase from 47 to approximately 70. Presently, there have been 32 new concession units constructed, and we will move into our next phase of construction in our central market area in 2023 with new retail locations, as well as food and beverage locations. Next slide. This next slide is Midway Concessions performance by category slide. Here you can see sales performance and square footage for each category of food and beverage, news and gifts, specialty retail, services, and indoor advertising. You can see in the food and beverage category, starting from 2019 pre-COVID, how sales were approximately $89 million, and then the drop in sales in 2020 to approximately $32 million, and then the uptick in 2021 to approximately $62 million. This trend was felt in all categories, and in 2022, we saw tremendous growth in our trending upwards as well. Next slide. Here's a terminal map that shows 32 new locations, which includes 24 new brands. And in December of 22, we welcomed the addition of Garrett Popcorn in the Central Market, and the Orange Line Restaurant and Bar will open on Monday of next week. Next slide. Here are a couple of pictures of some of the new food and beverage and retail locations. I've got FAO Schwartz, Hudson Nonstop, Einstein Bagels, as well as Cafe Descartes, Billy Goat Tavern, and Wood Grain. Next slide. And here you've got a slide. You can see the wide variety of brands that are located here at Midway, ranging from the iStore to Pork Chop. We've got Hudson, Dunkin' Donuts. So we've got some heavy hitters here at Midway. Next, I will hand it over to Michael Stein, who will present information on the process to operate a concession.
Good afternoon, my name is Michael Stein. I'm a project administrator for CDA, and I'll explain the process to operate a concession at the airports. Companies have several ways to operate as a concessionaire. Option one, you can operate as a single operator. This is where you lease space directly from the airport. Option two is called a joint venture. This is where a company forms a partnership with another company to lease and operate a concession. Option three, this is where you operate as a subtenant. Your company leases from a larger concessionaire and operates as their subtenant. The next step is you would need to determine how you would operate. Option one, you can operate under a franchise agreement with companies like McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts. Option two, you can enter into a license agreement with brands like Frontera Grill, Harry Carey's, or Publican. Option 3, you can operate as a regional or local brand where you bring a neighborhood favorite like Billy Goat Tavern, Nuts on Clark, or the Berghoff here to the airports. And the last option, you can operate as your own unique airport concept that only exists at the airports, like Ice Bar or Chicago Cubs Bar and Grill. This next slide identifies the steps it takes to become a concessionaire. First, CDA would locate a space that's available for lease. Next, CDA would issue a request for proposal, also known as an RFP. Then respondents prepare and properly submit their proposals. CDA will evaluate the responses submitted and then select a concessionaire from the group. Then the selected concessionaire and CDA will sit down and work out the lease agreement together. CDA then would have to obtain City Council's approval. And once approved, the concessionaire will submit their construction plans. The plans would need to comply with all of CDA's construction and design standards and ultimately will be approved by CDA's construction and design team. Once given the approval from CDA, the concessionaire can begin construction. Part of the process would be getting all the required permits, passing all city inspections, and then opening your business up at the airport. The goals of our concession program are to optimize revenues at the airports and within the local economy, to maximize ACDBE participation, to provide opportunities for local brands and local operators, to provide high-quality products and services, to promote high-quality facility designs and promote environmental sustainability. We also want to increase the variety of offerings at the airport, and we definitely want to showcase the character of Chicago to the traveling public. Lastly, we want to provide first-class customer service and provide fair pricing to the traveling public along with employees who work at the airport. Things you must consider when operating at the airport. You need to determine your hours of operation and how to select your team of employees properly for adequate coverage for busy times and slow times. You must you must be prepared to properly follow all the badging and security requirements at the airport. You need to consider how your employees will be getting to work so you have a stable workforce. Will they be using public transportation or will they be using our employee parking lots? Are these costs you expect them to absorb or would this be something you reimburse them for? And finally, you need to really think through your logistics so you have the most efficient way to get your goods delivered and stored and the most effective way to remove your waste and recyclables. Next, Yolanda Woodruff will explain the elements of a proposal.
Thank you, Mike. As Mike said, my name is Yolanda Woodruff. I am with Unison Retail Management, and today we'll talk a little bit about the elements of a response to a request for proposal or RFP. So a response to a request for proposals can be very detailed, as you can see from this listing. Now, the cover letter should identify the RFP to which you are submitting a proposal. Experience and qualifications should tell the story as to why you are qualified to operate a concession at O'Hare or Midway International Airports, actually espousing your expertise in the area you are proposing to operate a concession. The selection committee will pay close attention to your management plan, your development plan, the ACDBE participation plan, any references you may give, your business information, and your financial statements when evaluating your submitted proposal. The selection committee wants to be certain that the proposed concessionaire has the wherewithal to operate in the high volume, fast-paced airport environment. Now you'll see here on this list, exceptions. Exceptions relate to specific items in the license agreement that you request to be changed, rephrased, or omitted. Although there is a boilerplate available, there are small changes that can be made. Next slide. Submitting a proposal. So we talked about how the selection committee will also evaluate the concessions entrance in those areas previously stated, but they also want to see that you meet the minimum qualifications. At a minimum, the potential concession entrant must have a specific number of years of experience operating in the concept in which they are proposing to operate at the airport, along with the minimum amount of average sales receipts during a specified period. Now, this information is also used to gauge the potential concessionaire's ability to meet the capital improvement costs associated with operating a concession. And of course, that selection committee will also look closely at the ACDBE participation plan to ensure that CFR 49 Part 23 goal requirements are also being met. Now, the ACDBE goal will be stated in the RFP and is likely required to be met in full or by demonstrating good faith efforts that the goal could not be met. Oh. This is an example of compensation to the city. Now, keep in mind, the bids are not awarded to the highest bidder, and these fees are more than likely to be stated in the RFP either as a range or as a set amount. The base rent rate per square foot will escalate at 3% each year. For example, if the base rent in 2021 is $50 per square foot, then the base rent in 2022 would have been $50 plus $1.50, which is 3% of $50 or $51.50 for the year 2022. So the license fee is the greater of the percentage fee or the minimum annual guarantee fee. We will see an example of that in a later slide. The marketing fee is 0.5% of gross sales, and the central distribution fee is determined based on facility costs. That is the cost required to run a central distribution facility. But it will generally be between 1 to 2% of gross sales generated from your concession. At this time, there is currently no distribution center at O'Hare, but it is under consideration. Are some basic terms and fees associated with the multiple types of concepts that one can operate at the airport. The terms are specific to allow for the amortization of the build-out costs over the estimated useful life of the improvements installed at build-out. As you can see here, there is a range for the proposed percentage rent. And remember, the contract is not awarded to the highest bidder. Here are more basic terms and fees associated with the concept categories. Once again, the terms are very specific to allow for the amortization of those costs at build out and for the estimated useful life of those improvements. So as you can see, news and gift is 7 years versus on the previous slide where you saw a full service restaurant may have been at 10 years. And that is to allow for the use of those improvements to be amortized over the life of that contract. Here is that example of your minimum annual guarantee fee versus percentage rent. Now, the minimum annual guarantee fee is usually set in the RFP, and the percentage fee is usually stated as a range. When making the decision on how much your revenue you are willing to share with the city of Chicago, you must consider that if you make $0, you still must pay the minimum annual guarantee fee and not the lesser of the percentage fee and the MAG. So take, for instance, this example. If the percentage fee is less than the MAG, then the MAG is due as payment. If you exceed the MAG, then the greater amount is due as payment. So in this example, if your annual sales are at $800,000, your percentage rent rate is 15%, then for that year, you are required to pay $120,000. Now, if your annual sales are at $500,000 and that percent rent is at 15% again, that only generates $75,000 in revenue back to the city. However, you made that promise to pay the $100,000 as your minimum annual guarantee fee for the year. Therefore, you will pay the city that $100,000. Now, here are some things to consider when determining that compensation to the city. You also are responsible for leasehold taxes, the individually metered utilities, a security deposit that is equal to 6 months of your minimum annual guarantee fee. So taking into consideration that previous example of a MAG at $100,000, your 6-month security deposit would be $50,000. And of course, build out costs are also a consideration where they can range upwards of $2,500 per square foot. So these are the things to consider when determining your compensation to the city of Chicago. Now, the airports have developed a strict value pricing strategy that ensures prices at the airports will not exceed the average prices charged in downtown Chicago. The airports have also developed a strict sustainability strategy that each concession operator must adopt and include in their day-to-day operations. Now, these sustainable green initiatives include the reduction in the use of plastics and styrofoam, with those plastics and styrofoam products being replaced by green compostable items to ensure a healthy experience for the passenger, the employee, and also the environment. Now, we talked a little bit about the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Participation Plan. Now, what exactly is an ACDBE business? It's actually a for-profit business that is at least 51% owned and managed by a socially and economically disadvantaged individual. The ACDBE goal is usually always set in the RFP. An ACDBE plan must be included with the proposal, and the ACDBE must be certified at the time of the proposal submittal, or that proposal will be marked as non-responsive if that proposer has not shown good faith efforts and has demonstrated that they could not achieve that ACDBE goal as set in the RFP. Now, Airport Concessions Business Enterprise Participation Plan is a goal set by the airport because it is a program that is subject to federal regulations, which governs each airport having set an ACDBE goal. And that goal may be fulfilled by a concessionaire through several ways. Now, this could include direct ownership, you operating your own location. It could be a joint venture partnership or a subcontract as an ACDBE with a prime or with other ACDBEs where you combine your efforts and bid as a single entity, or purchase of goods and services by those primes or other operating concessionaires from ACDBEs. Now remember, the proposal will be deemed non-responsive if the ACDBE section of the proposal does not have a plan. It will be marked as pass or fail. So either you have a plan or you don't have a plan, but it's either pass or fail. Now the respondent must either satisfy the goal or must show good faith efforts as to why the goal could not be satisfied. So if you do have an ACDBE participant and it meets the goal specifications of the RFP, you will be marked as pass for that section of your proposal. If you have sought the participation of an ACDBE, but you were unable to find an ACDBE, that means you have shown good faith efforts and your section of the proposal will be marked as pass. However, if you don't show those good faith efforts and if you don't submit with an ACDBE, that will be marked as fail. Here are some resources regarding ACDBE certification. For more information on how to become certified, you can visit the City of Chicago Department of Procurement Services website or the Illinois Department of Transportation's website using the links that you see here. The Department of Procurement Services also holds a quarterly workshop on how to become certified. Here are some key facts about an RFP. The notification regarding upcoming RFPs will be released via CDA web alerts. So please be sure to sign up for CDA web alerts so that you can be among the first businesses to learn about the RFP release. Proposals are typically due 90 days after posting, but be sure to sign up for the CDA web alerts because this time period can be variable. So please stay aware of the due dates and times as changes may occur. A pre-proposal meeting will more than likely take place shortly after the RFP is posted. Be sure to attend this meeting, which will provide additional information that may not be stated in the proposal documents. And the pre-proposal meeting may also allow for tours of the proposed spaces. Now, the RFP deadline is specific to the submission, not only of questions, but also of your proposal package. And the RFP will specify a deadline for that submission of your proposal response, as well as the questions. And all of those questions that you may have must actually be submitted in writing. And the answers will be provided in an addendum to the RFP. So next, we'll learn a little bit more about additional resources that you can take advantage of for learning about how to do business at O'Hare and Midway International Airports. You can sign up for our web alerts at flychicago.com, which you will be alerted via email on new information such as bid package advertisements, pre-bid conferences, upcoming workshops and symposiums, as well as additional information about O'Hare 21. For notification regarding upcoming RFPs, remember, sign up for those web alerts. All right, and then these resources are additional airport industry resources. Airport Minority Advisory Council, which is the only nonprofit organization, national nonprofit organization that's dedicated to the inclusion of women, minorities, and others on airport contracts, as well as airport executive positions. Airport Experience News is an additional resource for our airport industry. Airports Council International is a really good resource to find out what's going on in the airport industry, the aerospace industry, and of course, the City of Chicago's website, cityofchicago.org, our website here at the Chicago Department of Aviation, flychicago.com. And I do want to add, the Chicago minimum wage ordinance is included here as well for an additional resource, simply because when you are considering hiring for your concession at the airport, those employees will fall under the City of Chicago minimum wage ordinance. So even operating here at O'Hare and at Midway airports, you must adhere to this city ordinance. And also we have Midway Partnerships website located here. For more information about the program at Midway, please be sure to sign up for the Midway Partnership alerts as well. And visit their website often, because they will also have outreach events posted on their website. All right, I think that's it for us today. And I just want to say thank you for joining us. And Jamie, I think you're going to give us a salutation.
Yeah, so thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. At this time, we will take a few questions that you may have.
Let's see how many questions we have.
Once we saw the other windowless room.
Let's see. They just want a copy of the presentation. No real question. Okay, I'm in a Q&A box, Jamie. Can you explain how startup small business can apply to open a small business at O'Hare or Midway? Are there grants and additional support to complete the application process for entrepreneurs while just getting started? Please share your contact information as well.
Definitely. So my contact information is just my first name dot last name, Jamie, Jaime dot VIRAMONTES, and that's at cityofchicago.org. As far as startup small businesses, I actually suggest you can maybe visit BACP to speak to a business consultant regarding opening up a small business, and some of those options that we have specifically in the Chicago area, but not at the airports of O'Hare or Midway. We do want the businesses that come here to O'Hare and Midway be a little bit of established, so we do not allow startup small businesses to apply for these RFPs here at O'Hare or Midway. But maybe in the future, if you do open up a brick and mortar in the city of Chicago and grow your business, maybe in the future you can open up a concession here at the airports.
My name is Yolanda Wallace. I'm the owner of Yo's Yum Yums barbecue sauce. I want to put my barbecue sauce in the concession stand, and I also have pastries. Can you tell me what my steps are? Was this even possible?
And then perhaps,
So
am I on? So the best way to do it would be sign up to get the RFP bid that come out. And then also you could potentially petition our current concessions that are here to carry your sauce. And then for Midway partnership at Midway, you could go to the Midway partnership website and figure out how to contact them appropriately to get in with them.
that is correct. Thank you, Michael.
Hello, does the 1,500 to 2,500 per square feet consider only for build out costs? Or does it consider other things like permits, license, deposits?
So this is Yolanda Woodruff responding to that question. The 1,500 to 2,500 per square foot is for build out costs, which would include your permits and any additional licensing, maybe for signage and things of that nature. But it would not include your business licenses or liquor licenses or anything like that. And it would not include your security deposit or anything of that nature. So yes, it's strictly build out costs.
Will the O'Hare expansion include any space for lounges? If so, how many spaces are being offered? And when will the RFPs be issued?
No.
If you don't mind, if you could send that question to the email that you see on your screen, Airport Concessions. We do have some lounge spaces. We just don't currently have any time on when or if there will be RFPs specifically for lounges here at the airports. But if you want to send that question again to airportconcessions@cityofchicago.org, we could get a little bit more information on that.
Or any of your questions. If we're not answering or you need more details, or you have something that comes to mind after this, send it to Airport Concessions. It's not just one person looking at that, it's a group,
Right.
and we'll do our best to respond.
Right.
Good point. Thank you, Michael.
Do you have an expectation as to when the distribution center will be built?
We have actually looked at putting out an RFP for a distribution center for many, many years here. We had actually had a building slated for it, but that building has since been demolished. So with all of the other items that are coming on board, especially with the O'Hare 21 projects that are in the hopper, the distribution center is probably something that is on the back burner for now, unless it will be included in some of the O'Hare 21 project. So for that, I would definitely keep my ear to the ground and sign up for the CDA web alerts so that you can be among the first businesses notified if there is an RFP release for a distribution center.
To sign up for those RFPs, it's just basic information, your name, your email address, and maybe your phone number. It'll take you 30 seconds to fill it out. And then when we do have any RFPs, you'll be aware of it. So I know everyone's excited to ask when. the answer will be sign up to get the notification of the RFPs, and then you can react.
And then we do have another question regarding if we're able to put a delivery service in the airport, for example, UPS store. Again, you would have to wait for an RFP if we do have a concession space for that type of service. These RFPs are very specific. One that we just had come out is for a T5 bar. It's specifically for bar and small plates. So these RFPs will have details as to exactly what we're looking for as far as if it's retail, restaurant, or if it's an actual service for the airport.
It's specific, but then it is a little bit open. So depending on what features and benefits you have, it may set you apart from somebody else making the same bid.
Oh, repeat your info, so well, they can.
Yolanda, if you want, Yolanda Wallace, if you'd like to get our information, just send an email to the airport concessions and they'll be more than happy to connect you with us.
You see that next question by Adrian, are we required to use certain construction crews for the build out, or can we use our existing contractors?
Depends on your existing contractors, what their expertise is in the airport. Generally, when you build out, you have to have some specific knowledge as to how to maneuver in the airport environment. Now, it's not unheard of to use your existing contractor, but I would definitely suggest that they be involved with your process from the beginning and that they request specific training on how to operate at the airport and make sure that they are adhering to our strict rules with residency. So our contractors, when you are building out on these concessions projects, there is a residency requirement. There is a wage requirement. There is also a requirement for
MBE. and WBE.
that's right, for M and WBE participation when it comes to professional services and when it comes to some of the other services that are provided during that construction build out. So those are the things that you have to be aware of when you want to use your existing contractor, because we have some very specific rules about building out our concession spaces.
And just the fact that they have to get badged, the badging process is a whole process. They may be the best contract you have outside in the outside world, but this is a highly regulated area with lots of different rules that have to be followed.
Right.
And they have to be able to get a badge to be able to get through the secure side to do the work.
And the work is required to be done overnight.
Yeah.
So that's another huge consideration when you're talking about using your existing contractors.
Regarding the question about startups, is it possible for a startup to look for an experienced concessionary to bid on?
Yes, absolutely. If you are a possible startup, you could definitely look into an experienced concessionaire and try to join, venture with them and become partners and then to bid on that RFP.
That's the spirit of it. That's totally the spirit of it. Now, maybe you haven't been open for 3 to 5 years, whatever the RFP is asking for. But if you could kind of get underneath the umbrella of somebody who has, that'll just start establishing enough experience to bid out on your own in the future. And plus, you can kind of learn a little bit of how regulated it is here before you're kind of out on your own.
That's a good point. HVAC services and Midway. As soon as I understand it, I want to go with them.
It looks like
So I'm reading that one. I'm a minority-owned small business and not a startup. And understand that the airport wants to go with an enterprise that's successful. So you know what? Your product is probably best introduced to a currently operating concessionaire.
And are you a certified ACDBE? Because there's people that are always looking to get more ACDBE percentages. So even if the percentage is 32, people don't just stop at 32. Again, that's not the spirit of it. If you can get to 50, I believe at Midway they're at 51%, 52%. But I mean, help us do what we want to do and reach our goal. So if you're not at ACDBE, go and become one, because that'll help you get in the door that much quicker.
Yeah, and two, you know, the ACDBE certification is a free certification. You do not have to pay for that certification. So yes, take Michael's advice.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Yes.
if you get an ACDBE approval here, does that get you approval in other states and other areas?
Ooh, that's a good question. So Mike Stein had the question about being certified by the city of Chicago, and what does that get you? Well, that actually gets you a listing with the Illinois UCP, which is statewide, and it opens the door. If Illinois is your home state, it opens the door for you to be certified across the country. So there currently is no real reciprocity where if you're certified in Illinois, you're automatically certified in all 50 states. It doesn't work that way. You still have to apply for certification for each additional state after you have been certified in your home state. I know there was a question from John Wilbur. Perhaps hosting Meet the Prime or publishing today's sign-in sheet might help encourage some of these small suppliers and potential ACDBEs. Well, John, we have many outreach events that encourage these types of relationship building activities. If you recall, November 18th, we held the Small Business Outreach Forum, where our small business community was invited to interact and create these relationships with our currently operating concessionaires and other entities throughout the city of Chicago. So I am sure that the city of Chicago will have more of these types of events that will allow for the small businesses and minority businesses to technically meet the prime. Publishing today's sign-in sheet, I don't think that's something that we are going to release to the public, but that would be up to BACP and not necessarily up to us, because this is a BACP event. This is their webinar. How do you find a business to venture with? Oh, that's a really good question. Outreach events. Outreach events. Yep. And then two, we have our listing on the flychicago.com website, which lists all of our currently operating concessionaires. So that would give you a really good idea of how to find a business to venture with.
It looks like we answered almost everything. There's nothing else in the chat. Looks like we answered everything in the Q&A box. Yeah, I think we're good. Any last words for our attendees to encourage them to try and apply?
Yes. Stella, I see a question. Does experience out of Chicago or Illinois count for an RFP? For example, Mexico. Absolutely. If you have the experience, you have the experience no matter where you've gained that experience. So yes, it does count.
And then just one more question, the PowerPoint slides and this recording will be on BACP's YouTube page. So this is recording right now, and this will be put up from BACP on their YouTube page. I know Stella can give you guys more information directly on that URL. And
So,
then
yes.
just the website, sorry, Stella, just the website to view the current concessions, you're gonna go to flychicago.com. I think that answers them all, Stella.
Okay. So this webinar will be available on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. Again, that's youtube.com/Chicago BACP. To learn about our upcoming webinars, please go to chicago.gov/business education. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program and would like to receive credit for your attendance today, please please send us an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. Again, that's bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. And
Great.
that's all I have.
That's it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on our Concessions 101 workshop webinar. We again thank you guys all for your interest in operating at O'Hare and Midway International Airports. Everybody have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.